I think these teams are very similar. I just have more confidence in Iowa. They're at home. I have more confidence. I would say, I would put it this way in a nutshell: the offenses, the way they operate, the way they try to execute, extremely similar. Rutgers, on a scale of 1 to 10, if the Iowa offense is a 1.5, then Rutgers is a 3.5. Still not a good offense, but it's much better, much more functional than Iowa's. However, Rutgers has a really good defense, but is it Iowa's defense? No, it is not Iowa's defense. And then I think the tipping point is Rutgers has adequate special teams, and Iowa's elite on special teams.
Right.
So I think it's going to be a good game, but I'm pretty confident Iowa's going to get the job done when it matters.
And we've said it before, I'll say it again. Iowa's offense will allow most teams to stay around, to stick around and have a shot. But Iowa's defense will give Iowa a chance to stick around in almost every game, except when you play someone who's just elite in basically in every category, like in Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan. We've seen that in recent time. Iowa doesn't get blown out by anybody else. They really don't.
No.
And it's just because of how they play. Like that defense in Wrigley this past Saturday. Don't get me wrong. Northwestern is still Northwestern, but they've made explosive plays this year. They scored 21 points against a Minnesota team that beat Iowa a couple of weeks back. They're more capable on offense than I would have expected under an interim head coach. So, I mean, Iowa just made them look completely incapable. Like, it was just like, now they did score the one touchdown. They got a couple of short fields. You probably saw the goal line stance. It seems like weird things happen when Iowa plays at Northwestern. 2 years ago, you had the protesters. This year, you have the cavern of a, I mean, what was going on with that cavern? I mean, I know it was over the dugout, but why was the ground that soft? I don't understand how you can have basically look like a shovel had dug. How can you even play on that? I thought they were going to have to move to the other side of the field for safety reasons. They kept them down there. And Iowa's goal line stance was really impressive. And then Torrey Taylor had a bad punt. And really that's what it came down to. It got Northwestern back inside the, I think, 25-yard line. And, at some point your defense can't just continue to, forever hold a team outside of the end zone. But boy, that defense is good. And people earlier, this is one area where I will proudly say I was right, and a lot of people on this were wrong, because after week 1, people said, oh, this defense is not what it was last year. They've taken a step back. It's good, but they've taken a step back. And I said, I don't know about that. I have a lot of trust in Phil Parker, and I know Jack Campbell's gone and Seth Benson, and they didn't look great against Utah State. They are every bit as good as they were last year. I'd love to look at the numbers, but Cooper DeJean is better than he was last year, and Jay Higgins hasn't missed a beat. I mean, if Jack Campbell's better than Jay Higgins, sure, but it's not as big of a gap as people think. And believe me, if you give me an option between Seth Benson and Nick Jackson, I'm probably taking Nick Jackson. Even though I really like Seth Benson, I think Nick Jackson's upside, athleticism gives him that notch ahead. And a lot of guys in the back end are older, and they got Jamari Harris back, who gave up a touchdown Saturday, but for the most part, it's been very good. Made the game-winning tackle on Saturday as well. I think this defense is every bit as good. And they're doing it without Noah Shannon, who the NCAA still can't get that decision right. He's practicing with the team, but they have not gotten word from the NCAA. So I expect Iowa to hold Rutgers down. But if Rutgers can find a way to score 2 touchdowns, and that is possible, we've seen teams beat Iowa in low-scoring affairs. If they can get to 14, they probably win. That's the honest truth. If they can get to 14 points, they probably win this game. I saw the over-under was open at like 28.5. I think it's up to 29 now. Iowa favored by 1, which basically tells me, hey, this is on a neutral field. Rutgers is actually a favorite, so I'm a little surprised by that. But, boy, at some point, you can't go any lower on these lines, right? Like, they're not going to open any lower, and yet they've all hit the under. Yes. They're all going to hit the under.
Except Michigan State, and that's because they took one to the house, Cooper DeJean, late in the game.
Yeah, but I mean, like this past week, everybody, the over-under. What was the over-under against Northwestern? Was it 30? Was it 28?
Yeah, 30.
Okay, and what was the final total? Was 17?
It's crazy.
So it's just, it's amazing.
I really want and can't wait to see them play a really good offense, which they will play in the Big Ten championship game, a really good offense. I don't know if they're going to play an elite offense. Ohio State's not elite this year on offense. Michigan could be, maybe. They're actually not churning out the kind of rushing yardage. They're actually struggling on the ground because the best offense that Iowa has faced would be Penn State,
Yeah,
probably
and
by far.
Penn State put up 31 on them. But again, those games don't ever tell the full story of Iowa's defense. They just don't. When you watch the game, you realize how bad the offense is and how bad of a position it consistently puts the other side of the ball in. They was 10-0 at halftime. They were in the game.
Yeah. But I'm making the point. Penn State's not that good on offense.
Yeah,
they're
well,
okay.
But Iowa's defense, we all can agree Iowa's defense was really, really good last year, and they gave up 50-some points to Ohio State on the road because of the same problem.
Sure. Yeah.
So I could see them going to the Big Ten championship game giving up 30 to 40 points. I feel stupid saying that, but that's a reality when you play with this type of an offense. I mean, they don't have an offense, Mark. They do not have an offense. Deacon Hill is throwing for like 30 yards per game right now. That's literally what the offense is. He's throwing for like 30 yards per game.
Now, the only play I saw on the final drive was the shot to Caleb Brown, his first catch of the year. So if he transfers, he made one big contribution to the team to lead to a game-winning field goal.
Must have been the number because he switched to 81 so Cooper could play offense as number 3. He switched to 81 and then caught the pass.
So they did drive at that final drive. They went about 40 yards, something like that.
Yeah.
So it was a reasonable drive.
That was the most explosive play, I believe, in the game for either team.
Yeah.
And it was a nice throw, nice catch. And Caleb Brown made a nice move after the catch and got a few extra yards and put him in position. And I said it. You can ask anybody who was watching the game with me, Mark. I said when they got to the 40, I said, it's over. Drew Stevens is going to make this field goal. And you watch him from 52. You watch that field goal, Mark. Have you ever seen a straighter field goal? Like that thing was, they were lined up in the center of the field, and that thing never I mean, just straight line. I don't know how a kicker does that.
Yeah.
It was an incredible kick, but that's what he does from 50 plus.
It was.